Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and look at our homework for tonight with dealing with square roots. Your assignment was to do the even, so I'm going to go through the odds so that you can have some good examples to be able to help you. So looking at number 1, square root of 36. Remember, for square root of 36, we need to find out what times what equals 36. We want those to both be the same number. So I know that 6 times 6 equals 36, so our answer is 6. Number 2, be careful, there's that negative on the outside, so it's going to be on your answer too. Number 3, it's a cube root. You weren't assigned to do any of the cube root ones. You're actually skipping number 4 for right now, so you don't have to pay attention to that one. But just as a preview, because it's coming up, cube root, we need to know what times what equals the number. So the same number in each spot, multiply them together, end up being 27. So if we do 3 times 3 times 3, that equals 27. So we're going to have a 3 on top. For 64, same thing. So something times something times something equals 64. That's 4. 4 times 4 times 4 gives you 64. Skipping number 4, you don't have to do that one. Number 5, it tells us that our answer is going to be either a positive or a negative, that it's going to be both. It's plus or minus. So we've got to leave that there. We do have that decimal, but right now let's ignore that decimal, 225. Let's just look at it that way. 15 times 15 gives us 225, so I'm going to write that 15 down. Now I need to think about that decimal to get it in the right spot. So I need that decimal to move over twice. So if I think about it, 1.5 times 1.5 is going to have the decimal move over twice to give us what we need. Number 7, remember that's one of those starred kind of weird ones because we have that negative on the inside. So this won't be on your test, but just to kind of help you out with that, square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 100 is 10. And then this is a special case in that it is an imaginary number. So we just put that I there. Number 10, we have that negative on the outside, so it's going to stick with our answer. So we need that negative. Square root of, again, ignoring that decimal, square root of 324 is going to be 18. Now let's think about the decimal. We need that decimal to be able to move over 1, 2. So that means if I have one place in my answer, then that's going to move it over. So for 2 for 324. So that ends up being negative 1.8. I actually just did an even for you, which is actually what you've got to do. So bonus for you. Okay? Coming back to number 9. Number 9, we have that negative on the outside. Okay? Square root of 0.49. Square root of 49 is 7. We need that decimal to move over 1, 2. So that means I'm going to put my decimal right there, because if I have one decimal spot right here, if I multiply it out, then I end up with 2 decimal spots in the end. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. If I have 0.7 times 0.7, and I multiply, okay, 7 times 7, 49. The way I decide where my decimal goes is I count my spots. There's a 1, there's a 2. So the 1, 2, put my decimal right there. Okay? So 7/10 times 7/10 ends up with 49 hundredths. Now coming over to number 11, we're going to have that negative on the outside because it has it right there. So we're going to still keep it. Then square root of 25. 5 times 5 gives me 25. So I'm going to have 5 in my numerator. Okay? 441, that's a big one. 21 times 21 gives me 441. Okay? Moving on down. This next section, we're solving the equations. We always do our inverse operation to be able to solve to get the variable by itself. In this case, the inverse of squaring is square root. So I need to take the square root of both sides. and that's going to leave me with h equals square root of 121 is 11. Now remember that our answer, it can be positive, it can also be negative. So our answer is h equals plus or and minus 11. Number 15. Okay, we've got to do the square root of both sides to get x by itself. So that's going to leave us with x equals square root of 81 is 9. Square root of 169 is 13. And with our equations, it can be plus and minus. We have both of those answers, and you have to have that symbol there. Looking at number 17, we have the square root of y equals 6. Okay, the inverse of square root is to square it. So I'm going to take that and put it to the second power. I'm going to take this and put it to the second power. Square root of y times square root of y leaves me with y equals 6 squared gives me 36. Okay, looking at number 19. Okay, we're looking at 196 pepper plants, and she wants to be able to put them in a square formation. So we want to know how many plants are in each row. So if we have that square and there's 196 pepper plants in it, we want to know what is this side and what is this side. We know that in a square area that we end up with S times S, or S squared is what we're looking at here. So when we go to solve that, okay, we know that 196 equals S squared. Then we've got to go and we've got to do our square root. Square root of S squared, square root of 196. And when we solve that, square root of 196, that ends up being 14 equals S. So each row is going to have 14 plants. Okay, looking at number 21, it's a square, so same thing, area equals S squared. So in this case, 144 equals S squared. So we've got to do square root of both sides. Square root of 144 is 12, and so 12 equals S. So it's 12 inches. Now, normally we have a plus or minus 12 if this was just a plain equation that we're solving. But the distance cannot be a negative distance, so it's only positive 12. Looking at number 23, working the same way. Area equals S squared, so that means 324 equals S squared. So we've got to do square root of both sides because square root is the opposite operation from squaring. So when we do that, square root of 324, and that's going to end up with 18 equals S. Okay? Now, we need to go back because actually now that I look at these directions, we have one more thing that we need to do real quick for 21 and 23. It says up here that the formula for perimeter is P equals 4S. So we have to find the S, and then we have to find the perimeter. So I'm not done yet, so I've got to go back. So if P equals 4S, I'm going to take this S, and I'm going to have to plug it in. And so that's going to end up with 4 times 12. And that's going to tell me that the perimeter is 48 inches. Okay, same thing looking at number 23. Okay, P equals 4S. We have to take that side and we have to plug it in for our S. So that's going to tell us to go 4 times 18. tells us that the perimeter is 72 meters. That's our perimeter. Okay, so that finishes up our odds. You're going to go ahead and do the evens on your own.